Hello and welcome to New Mexico Day Trips. I'm your host, Shelley Carney.
And I'm your other host, Toby Eunice.
Today we're going to be talking about a couple of things we did over the weekend. On Friday, we played with Toby's new toy, the underwater drone,
That doesn't sound
or, I call it Quasi Fishy and he calls it Flippy.
flippy.
So we'll talk more about that a little bit. And
Oh,
then
it's going to turn a hold.
we went on Saturday, we went to the Renaissance Fair at Las Golondrinas, and we'll talk about that as well. But first, what do you want to say, Toby?
I want to say that I had a good time this weekend because we got to do things on both Friday and Saturday that I really enjoyed doing. One is playing with toys, and the other is going to events and making short documentaries on them. Do we need to move our thing?
Yeah, well, you keep bumping into it.
Sorry,
so
I apologize for that.
Put it out of the way.
Oops, I need to stop this video. So there are, I was going to say three things, but there's only two things. We're going to talk a little bit about the ROV, and we're not going to show the video, right?
No, just talk about it.
Okay. Well, let me do that first. So, well, I got to do some other stuff. Well, let me do some housekeeping. Why don't you keep talking while I do my housekeeping, because then I'll get distracted.
See, I tried to help you out there, and then you just didn't really pay attention to what I meant.
Go.
So if there are things that you would like us to do in New Mexico, make sure that you write to us at support@agkmedia.studio or what's our other email address?
Email at
NMDaytrips.
Yeah.
NMDaytrips.com.
Email at nmdaytrips.com.
Yeah, both of those work.
And actually that is what do they call a catch-all account? So you can send it to Poopsie Doodles at nmdaytrips.com and we would still get it no matter what you say.
So that address is scrolling across the bottom. If you need any information, check there first and then ask us if you don't see it there.
Yeah. And I mean, if there are places that you want to go, we have plans already for this week, but we're planning these about a week to 2 weeks ahead. And what impacts us is the weather and what else is happening in our personal lives. And this is what I call a personal life week, where there's some things happening in our personal lives that require us to put attention to it, you fellow. As Brother Aloysius used to say, put attention, you fellow. St. Michael's High School. Memories. Anyway, it gives us a chance to kind of plan out our week, do some stuff. But if there are things that you've always had an interest in seeing, let us know and we'll add it to our itinerary of locations that we're going to visit while we're doing New Mexico Day Trips. Because this is, it's a new channel for us. I think we're up to 45 subscribers. 46 subscribers.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing this because we like what we're doing. We're having a lot of fun with it. And we got a bunch of stuff. Think of this. There is a very good chance, although it doesn't qualify necessarily as a New Mexico day trip, there's a very good chance that sometime between now and I'll say January, we're going to take a trip to the Colorado River below Hoover Dam, and we're going to take a boat, in the air drone, and a below the water drone. And we're going to come back with all of that footage. Just imagine it. How beautiful is that going to be? And for those of you that haven't been on that stretch of the river below the Hoover Dam, because you ride up towards the Hoover Dam, that water is around 55 degrees. It has a number of species of fish, including trout, and it is crystal clear and emerald colored. So imagine having that from a drone shot. I don't know. Is that a national park? I need to find out about that. Got a drone shot. They probably won't let you fly a drone around the Hoover Dam, though. Anyway, I'll figure it out. And then, in addition to the boat ride from Willow Beach all the way to Hoover Dam, we'll get some underwater footage as well of that emerald green water with the ROV. So,
speaking of the ROV, we're going to share our adventure that we had on Friday. We went to the pool. It was the West Mesa
Community Pool.
Aqua Center.
Aqua Center. I thought it was the high school because that's where the West Mesa High School is. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's independent of the high school. It's a community pool that everybody,
but it's like a professional level where they hold a lot of
competitions
and events and water polo and swim meets and things of that nature.
And aside from going there, and we're going to show you where to see the video of that here in just a minute. But in addition to that, so we were let in there to do a trial run on the ROV, what we're going to call it underwater drone because everybody else is calling it that. We were given the opportunity to try out the underwater drone at that pool because my son-in-law, Sean's husband, Daryl, is a swimming and water polo coach. And so that's the facility that he uses to train his, I think they're called the Barracudas, is the swim team. And the water polo team is from, although he does a couple of club teams, he also coaches the water polo team from Pius X High School. So he has access to that. He gave us access to it. And it was very kind of him to do that. And even provided us a little friendly swimmer to use the GoPro to shoot our GoPro video that we did on this. So we made a video of it. I'm not going to play it tonight because we've got other things that we have to get done.
Show a minute of it.
Okay. We're back at the beginning or during the footage?
Probably towards the beginning.
Towards the beginning, like
Once it's in the water.
Once it's in the water. Okay.
Yeah.
Here it's about to go in the water. So Shelley shot the above the water footage while I was getting ready to get it in the water. And then we divided it up and you'll see footage here from both. Let me add it to the screen so you can see what I'm doing here. So you'll see footage and I'll put this link in the chat room so you can see that. I don't want to.
And of course, this is on the channel if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you can go see the whole thing. But we wanted to test it because that's kind of what you do with these things. I had never, flown one of these drones before. These are ROVs. You hear them referred to as ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, because unlike a drone, they're not radio controlled. They're controlled via a tether because you can't transmit a signal underwater. So they call them remotely operated vehicles, and even the big ones in the ocean, the man-sized or multi-man-sized ones, they're referred to as remotely operated vehicles because they operate in exactly the same way with a tether, although I've seen some of the tethers on the big ones, and the tethers are that big. So you'll get a chance to see it, but if you go watch the video, you'll see a little bit of us setting it up, and then you'll see I divided the screen into two sets of images, one that was being shot by the drone, and the other was being shot by Elliot, our little friend that helped us with the GoPro. Now, it was my fault for not giving the instructions to just shoot this still. He knew that. He knew enough to know that the GoPro went underwater, so he used it like he was swimming with it. And the first little bit of the footage isn't very good, but it was interesting. And I respected the fact that he tried his best. And then I was able to say, just kind of settle down, stay in one place, and just move the camera with a drone. I'm going to turn on the audio, but I did not hang on before I do that. I have to go do this. Do I do it there?
Mm-hmm. You got to stop and redo.
I got to stop and redo it. So I always forget to add the audio from the screen.
Make sure
on
you
here.
Stop sharing before we end the show.
Right.
Otherwise, we get the echo.
Okay. That to be blah blah blah. Okay. So then we go back to adding it to the stream, and here we go. All right. So we're just going to play a little bit of it so you can see, and then, like I said, I put the link in the chat room so you guys can see it there.
Do you have any questions about the drone? And put them in the chat room, and we'll be happy to answer.
This is just me setting it up. So the reason we did this is because I had never flown, quote, flown,
it tells
unquote,
me that
an ROV like this. So I needed to figure it out.
We can go
The
dive.
controller is very much like the controller that you'd find. So the first thing that happens, oh, that is way too early. I need to edit this video
Okay,
again.
I'm recording. Here we go.
So that little motion, I think it's really cute that Shelley found that funny because I didn't explain to her what was going to happen. When you first start the drone, after you put it in the water, you have to do you have to unlock the thrusters. There's actually a button on the controller. And so what it does is it does this little dance, kind of like a gimbal does. It does this little dance where it tests out all its thrusters. And I think, I don't know, I guess Shelley might have thought like Toby doesn't know how to drive this thing or
Well, I
whatever.
didn't know if it was just going to sink to the bottom or what was going to happen.
Yeah, it was really neat. Anyway, that's what you saw there. And then so the footage that you see here is the footage from the drone, which apparently has a really good camera on it. And the other footage is from the GoPro camera that and every once in a while, Elliot gets in the shot of the ROV, remotely operated vehicle. See, you can see him there. And he's a competitive swimmer, so his team wasn't working at this time. So my son-in-law asked him if he wanted to do this with us.
Oops.
So I had forgotten to let the tether off the reel, so it wasn't going anyplace.
Got it?
Yeah, keep going. It's all right. I'm trying to.
That's kind of locking up.
Can you hold that for just a second for me so I can pull the tether out?
So you don't have a
It's
tether
starting
when
to
you
get
fly
away.
down.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me go. Let me go. Let me go.
So first of all, the things that I found out about it are that A, it's very stable.
All right. I don't want to go too
B-
far. All right. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go forward. You know what I didn't check? I didn't check and make sure that I have. That's nice. I'm going to turn to the right so I'm straight. Okay, here we go. Turn
Didn't
to the
check.
right.
That's nice.
Yeah.
This is Toby
Turn to
not
the
finishing
left.
his sentences again. All right. So we had a lot of fun playing with toys. And you can watch that video on our channel if you haven't yet.
So we're going to start taking with us on our travels, and every time we get someplace that has water that is relatively clear, we'll get some footage of that water. Our plan for right now is to get down to or across the state to the eastern part of the state to a town called Santa Rosa. It's right on the border with Texas. And it's well known for something called the Blue Hole,
The blue hole.
right? And it's a pond, I guess, that's about 50 feet across, but because it's spring fed, the water is crystal clear. And it's 106 feet deep. They use it as divers training. So there's all these things that divers have left there as they went down to the bottom. And so it would be kind of fun to go down there and see what they've left and get video of it. But in addition to that, Santa Rosa has several other ponds that are also spring fed, that are also crystal clear, that there's a lot of diving in. Some are on public property. One of them that I know is on private property, but the owner of the property allows people to go on. So I'd like to go there and see if we can not only get some drone footage, some above the ground footage, but some below the water level footage. And the problem is that as of this moment, our schedule is in
Flux.
in flux. Yeah, we've got a lot of things going on right now.
Yeah.
So we're planning for Friday. We can't do Friday now.
We don't know.
We don't know, and we want to go on a day where there's not a lot of other traffic, that other people aren't going to be there. We don't want to like interrupt a dive class or something like that. So I think the best days potentially are Monday and or Tuesday, but we plan to go before the
What
next
about
show.
Sunday?
Sunday, I think, is going to be where it's going to be family day at the Blue Hole, right? So there's going to be kids and people there, and I want to have as few people there in order to do the drone. And honestly, you know, we went to Las Golondrinas this last weekend, and there's a sign that says no drones. So I'm kind of wondering if there is some sort of restriction as for us putting in this water. We just don't know that yet. So once we get that all figured out, we'll go one way or the other. All right. Anyway, take a look at the video. It was a lot of fun, and it was kind of cool doing it all in the pool because it made it a lot easier to acclimate myself to the controls. It turns out that the people who designed this drone, I pronounce their name. It's QYSEA. Shelley calls it, what do you call them?
Quizzy fishy.
Queasy fishy. But I think it's pronounced Kai Si. I think that's how you pronounce it in Chinese. So we're going to go. I've actually spoken to them. I've chatted with them. I've spoken with them, and they're actually commenting on our videos. So it gave me a lot of confidence when I realized that the controls are very similar to the controls that I used to fly the drone: up, down, turn left, turn right, skew left, skew right, forward and backward. Same thing as a flying drone. So it gave me a lot of confidence to fly it. There's two additional features. For example, you can roll this 360 degrees, and you can pitch this 360 degrees. You can't do that with a drone because of the way the propellers are configured. It's not as there are drones that do that, but they're the FPV drones that have completely different controls. So I'm sure.
So this also has an FPV goggles that we haven't tried out yet.
Yeah.
That we've seen videos of other people doing it, and so we're looking forward to trying that out.
And that's wireless. So the FPV goggles use the phone, and the phone is connected wirelessly to the controller. So, for example, once you switch over to the goggles, the FPV goggles, the drone does what your head does. So if you wanted to turn left, you look that way, look right, look up, and it looks up. Now you still have to power it. You have to give it. So let's say you want to return to the surface. You can look up, hit forward, and it climbs to the surface. If we want to go down, you look down, and you hit the thruster. You hit the forward thruster, and it heads down. So I'm looking forward to that because I don't know. You guys saw the show recently where Jens and Gallatin Ghost met up with me on the Rio Grande, and Jens had brought his FPV drone, the one that's made by DJI, and I flew it for a little bit. My first reaction once I put the goggles on and started flying was I had to sit down. I had to get my I don't want to call it my bearings, but I had to sit down in order to fly it because of the feeling of flying with those goggles on. It's pretty amazing. So I'm interested to see what happens when we have the drone in the water and we start using the FPV version of it. Hey, Colorado. He says, hello, friends. Thanks for joining us tonight. I got to take care of some business here. So I would appreciate it that before you leave tonight, you like our video, or if you're watching it after the video has been published, like it. YouTube likes it when you like our videos. We like it when you like our videos. Share with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, the entirety of your social network so that we can continue to grow this channel. We have 46 subscribers as of tonight. That's good. We'd like some more. And then finally, if you're not already a subscriber, this would be the ideal time to subscribe. Once you see the notifications bell, click on the notifications bell. And that way, every time we start a live stream, you'll be immediately informed. And as a result, in the know. I mean, how much did you know about remotely operated vehicles before tonight's show? It's kind of fun, isn't it? Because we're doing some crazy things.
With the crazy fishy,
With the crazy fish.
flippy fishy.
So I didn't ask them this because I chat with them if they're in China. And so when I'm working late, I can literally click on the chat window and I start talking to them. And the ones that I've spoken to all speak English or write English really, really well. And so I haven't yet asked them why they call this the name of this ROV is FIFISH. So it looks like fish. And I thought, there's 100 different names you could have called this thing that sounded better than fish, but I don't say that to them, of course, because they're very good people and they've been very helpful. Okay, what's next?
The trip we took on Saturday.
What do you want? You want to show? So I've got two maps. I've got the Las Golondrinas map and I've got the Renaissance map. Which one do you want to see first?
Oh, we're looking at maps first?
Do you want to do that first or do it after the video?
I thought we'd do the video first.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so why don't you introduce the video and I'll pop it open here.
This is the video that we made when we went to Las Golondrinas, which is about a 40-minute drive from Toby's house.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. All right. Go ahead.
It's about a 40-minute drive from Toby's house and straightforward. It's real easy to get to, but it was very crowded. Toby kind of knew in advance that it would probably be crowded, so we decided to be there early, and we got there right as they were opening the gates up and letting the ticket holders in. So it wasn't too long of a line for us. We only stayed a couple hours because it got very, very crowded. as the day wore on, and the wind was starting to pick up, and it was getting hot and tiresome. So
I told Shelley that I would have preferred to go on Saturday rather than Sunday, because my impression was by Sunday, all the fun has worn off and people are just hanging on for dear life. Next year, we're going to go on Sunday because although we got there early and it made our entry relatively painless, not only in parking, we parked in the regular parking lot, but the crowds built up so quickly and so, I don't want to use steadily and kind of violent, like they just exploded all of a sudden with people wanting to be there. And the only thing I could think of was that this is the first time they've had it since the pandemic. And I think people just wanted to get out. And I'll tell you more about that after we see the end of the show. But
I think it's cool that they have it kind of close to Halloween. It's a month and a half before Halloween. And I think people are ready to get started into the Halloween season by dressing up and going to the Renaissance Fair.
And it was kind of cool because they were dressed up. I would say half the people that attended were dressed up in some sort of costume. And actually, Shelley mentions that in the closing. So let's play the video and then we'll come back. And if you guys have any questions about what we did, you'll see it was we really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun there. It was a good video to make. Hey, Jeep Girl, how are you doing? So I've got this on my desktop. I haven't uploaded it to the our website yet. So you're about to do your piece here, all right? Without my interruption.
That'd be new.
Yeah, that'll be new. Actually, I'm going to turn my microphone off.
So are we just showing it on screen then, or you're just getting the audio recorded?
Both. So while I'm showing your commentary,
you can't take us off the screen though, because then you wouldn't be able to hear us.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we have to be on the screen, but it doesn't make any difference because all I'm going to take from this is the audio.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to use so this screen is not going to be the video. So
you take the comment
you
off, though.
you can't imagine how long it took me to figure that out.
Okay. You're going to take the comment
I
off.
am.
All
Did
right.
you say hi?
Yes. Hi, Jeep Girl Jody. Thanks for joining us.
All right, here we go. Let's see. So add that and
No, you just removed it.
add that and
Hi, it's Shelley Carney here with New Mexico Day Trips, and we're here at the Las Golondrinas Renaissance Fair for the first day of the Ren Fair. It runs 2 days this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We're here on Saturday to explore and see what's going on here at the Renaissance Fair. It's our first time at a Ren Fair, but not at Las Golondrinas. So Toby's going to check out a lot of the things that are inherent when you visit Las Golondrinas, and I'll be sharing some of the things from the Ren Fair. So let's go.
So there's a lot of great products for sale at all of the booths. This one has leather goods. You can adopt a dragon for $5. A little toy dragon for your kids. I think they use the scraps of the leather for that. So a lot of people there that day under the cottonwood trees and the tents watching the performers. This was the end of their show. They were just finishing up. And part of the Renaissance Fair is the fairy world that they have walk over a bridge, and they've got the bridge decorated with
Oh, the third eye!
The third eye, apprentice! Don't worry, I will protect you.
Oh,
My magic will stop your soul from being stolen.
Oh, it's so mysterious.
Mysterious
Guys,
indeed.
guys, you gotta comprehend.
these are a couple of workers there who lead you into the Shire, the fairy world. There was several of those young women wearing mushroom type costumes. They were just like a mushroom hat and dress. Lots of children having a great time. They had face painting and all sorts of things that were perfect for little girls who wanted to wear their fairy wings. This was where you could tell the troll a joke and get across, or you would have to give him a tip if you didn't have a joke to tell him. And I thought it was interesting that they put water down on the side, so you had to go over the bridge or get your feet wet. This young lady was doing acrobatics with the, I don't know what you call it, the ropes or the curtains or drapes, and then again with the hoop. There was entertainment everywhere you looked, and they had characters that were walking around, so you could take pictures with them. And this one was a rock, igneous rock. Lots of flowered crowns for sale and costumes and wings that you could get if you hadn't already have your own costume. And here they had the knights. They were on horses, and they were going to do some dueling, and they had a tent set up for the king and the queen and their court, where you could go and talk to them. The kids seemed interested in that. There was a line for speaking to them. You can see kind of a mixture of people in kilts, people in old-time dress, fairies and elves, and lots of different kinds of booths. This was a booth that sold aromaware jewelry. You could put essential oils in the vial or on a lava rock to have it scented. Again, very different costumes. This is pretty much the entryway of where you come in at. The Spanish ladies dressed, wearing their Spanish finery and carrying their parasols. This is the line to get in that we saw as we were leaving.
So one of the things I did while Shelley was shooting the B-roll of the event was I wanted to see some of the things in Las Golondrinas. This is the gift shop, which, by the way, has some of Jason's work and some of Sean's work in it. It's a very nicely laid out gift shop. This is the church. Now, a lot of the facilities that you'll see on Golondrinas were handmade. They used the techniques that were familiar way back then to build them, including adobe coverings, and even the doors, for example, are all handmade. That was the church. As I said, this is the outside of the church. I didn't go in. I did go in, try to get some footage, but it was too dark. And then they have people, for example, this woman was baking rolls, but each place each of these plazas have hornos with them that they actually do the baking in. This is one of the hornos, and they were just about to put the rolls in, and you can actually buy them afterwards. I was trying to get the footage before the crowds got big. As you can see, everything is laid out like a 16th, 17th century Spanish hacienda. I should mention that El Rancho de las Golondrinas was actually in my family. It was owned by Manuel Baja y Delgado, who's a great granduncle of mine. So there are some, for example, his casa is in there. The Casa Manuel Baja y Delgado is just on the other side on the bed behind me. And this is part of the farm area. This is called the hojalatero, and hojala is tin. And this is the tin shop. Jason wasn't there, but all those pieces in there were made by one or more members of my family, including my grandfather, my uncle, my mother, one of my brothers, and my son Jason. So most of it is fed with a variety of acequias. This is the acequia madre, or the mother creek, and this is how they move water and water the plants, bring water to the planting areas. So again, these houses are wooden construction. The fields are already laid out, and they do have a harvest festival where you can go and join in the picking of a pumpkin, your own pumpkin that you can take home with you. So they're very good about actually raising these crops. And they have people that work on, this is my favorite place. It's the blacksmith shop. I actually did a series of videos, one of which was an artist who worked in this particular blacksmith shop. And again, it's all original. There is no modern technology in there. This is the field that leads up to La Escuela, the school where the children that were on the rancho would get their education. And again, this was 17th century. This is the old mill. They grind wheat here to produce flour, and they use the flour to produce bread. As a matter of fact, you can buy a bag of the flour in the gift shop if you want to make your own bread. This is one of the houses, but on the front of this particular house, there's a tower that, as you can see, has gun slots. So they use this tower to keep themselves safe, protect themselves from raiders. And the raiders could be Native American raiders, or they could be Mexican raiders, or they could be other, by this time, criminal Hispanics, right? So they had to build their own protection. Each one of them has the big patio plaza that are surrounded by the working houses. When you first walk into the facility, one of the things that's going to greet you is this wonderful garden with not only flowers, but bouquets of various herbs and things that you would eventually add in your cooking. What amazed me is that they even used the administration facility to put some of the Renaissance Faire shops in. So it was completely used. I'm going to show you a map. We'll share a map with you here in just a minute.
What did you think of the Renaissance Faire?
Well, it was my first time at a Renaissance Fair, and I'd seen them on television and in movies and stuff, so I kind of knew a little bit what to expect. But I was just thinking they would be in like old-timey dress, but there was also like a bunch of fairies and pirates and mermaids and like Robin Hood, and there was the Shire, they had the hobbits, and they had elves, and people were just wearing a lot of different costumes, whatever they had that they enjoyed dressing up as. So that was kind of cool, and I didn't realize it was going to be that varied, so that was nice. Really a lot of pirates. I had no idea there was so many pirates there, which is funny because the 19th is Talk Like a Pirate Day. So I guess that was good timing for that. Definitely something to check out, but of course they have them all over the United States and probably Europe as well. I think a lot of these people, they said, came from Colorado. So yeah, but Las Golondrinas was an interesting place to hold it because it's so spread out. You had to walk a ways to see everything. So be prepared for that. It's dirt tracks.
So if you're planning on bringing small children in strollers, make sure it's one of those that has the big wheels that can handle
Right.
going off road. If you're bringing old people, let them know to wear really stable, comfortable shoes, have a walking stick or cane or walker or something to help them if they're not really steady on their feet because it's uneven surfaces there. So just keep all that in mind and make sure you drink plenty of water because it always gets pretty warm in the middle of the day. We had a great time and look forward to doing it again sometime in the future.
It was a lot of fun. The only thing I would add is that if your intent is to enjoy the Hispanic History Museum that is Las Golondrinas, don't pick an event day because most of the locations, most of the things that you'd want to see were closed or inaccessible. I did get to see some of the things that I wanted to see, but they do pretty much close up Las Golondrinas and turn it over to these various events. So that's the last piece of advice. So, but go do it. If, as a matter of fact, if you're in a place where they're planning a Renaissance fair, and I always feel like they're in spring and fall, but if you're in one of those locations, go try it out and do yourself the favor of going in costume. And it's all very lighthearted, right? It's everybody's in like very good spirits, very lighthearted, a lot of jokes, and it was a lot of fun.
Bring
But
some money to tip people with.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of buskers and minstrels, and they put on little shows and all kinds of fun things for the kids. And so bring, a few dollars to tip people with.
that's a good idea. I rarely carry cash with me, so I felt guilty about reporting them.
Yeah. Okay. That's all we have for our show. Thanks for joining us.
I'm going to stop it there because you guys don't need to see that. So let me answer some of the questions in the room. So Jeep Girl says Renaissance fests are always fun. We didn't know because after we found out I assumed for some reason because Shelley's likes her costumes. I mean, I've seen her Halloween costumes. I just assumed she had been to one of these things. We found out afterwards, as we were talking about it, that was the first Renaissance fair for either one of us. But I will go back. I think I want to go back using, I know it's not quite Renaissance, but I like the whole, what was it? Which costume?
Scottish kilt or the
No.
pirates?
Well, the Scottish kilt, I wouldn't feel good about. I'm not Scot, so. But not the pirates. Remember you talked about them, and I said that's the one I wanted to do. Steampunk.
Oh, steampunk.
I'd like to have a steampunk outfit.
Yeah, there were steampunk people.
Yeah. And there were shops I noticed that were selling a steampunk,
Yes, they were.
stuff. So a couple of things. Jen asks, is Toby driving or holding the camera or both? It was both, but I want you to know that it was a GoPro camera on a Feiyu gimbal, and the GoPro camera has face fine. So all I had to do was, while I was driving, I was holding it like that. I wasn't watching the camera, just holding it up. I was
I can't see your hand.
I was just pretending to be a tripod. So I was holding it without looking at it. So I was being safe. I wouldn't do it otherwise because I have to protect this beautiful soul here. Make sure nothing happens to her. Although I realized afterwards we probably worked her pretty hard on Saturday.
Yes.
So
It was a long, hard day for somebody who was still recovering from surgery.
Yeah. So it was a long, hard day for somebody who wasn't recovering from surgery. I mean, there's a couple of places where as you walk down from where Las Golondrinas proper is down to where the fairyland and the jousting and things like that is, you go down a steep hill and you don't realize how steep it is until you walk back up. And it was really funny because I had a bunch of equipment on my backpack and I was walking back up the hill. I was taking it kind of my own pace, but there were a lot of families going in both directions. And there was a woman behind me with a little boy or a couple of little boys and a little girl. And she said something like, she was right behind me. And she said, "Come on, sweetie, let's move a little faster." And I turned around and I said, "Lady, I'm moving as fast as I can." And it gave her a laugh. So it was kind of fun. I was moving as fast as I
You
can.
didn't include that story in the video.
I know. I wanted to. She actually, when I was telling that story,
I
Shelley
got
got
that
it.
one on video.
But I thought I'd better wait. So let me show you a map of Las Golondrinas first, and then we'll come back and I'll show you a map of the. So this is the entirety of Las Golondrinas, and it is here where you come in. You come in at the main gate there, the education center. That's where right here the Queen was, the Queen and King, the museum shop. Then all the primary booths are right in this area here, and I'm gonna open this up so you can see more. But I wanted you to see a couple of places. So this right here, number 15, is my my great grand uncle's house, Don Manuel Baca y Delgado. So that's where he actually lived, and that was closed. That way I couldn't get in there. The Ojalatero, that little shop where you saw my family's tin work, is right there on the corner. So if you ever get here, make sure you check out 15 and 17. The church is right along here in this area, and that's where all the baking was being done. And then you can go a variety of directions. So I went down this steep hill here, and these numbers all have, I don't have the back. I didn't get the back of this, but you go down this steep hill, and then here's the creek crossing where we saw the troll asking you had to answer a question. And then I headed up
for a joke. You had to tell him a joke. My joke, I couldn't think of a joke, and I was trying to think of a joke. And a lot of times we'll ask Alexa to tell us a joke. I was trying to remember any of hers, and I ended up just saying, why did the chicken cross the road? And he said, to get to the other side. And I said, well, it may be, but he took off too fast and I couldn't ask him. So he thought that was good enough. So he let me through.
So, and then I took this pathway up, and they're roads, but they're like wagon roads. They do have trucks. I've seen trucks on them. And I went up in this direction and didn't cross this bridge. This bridge leads to another, they call it the Sierra homestead. And that was another family that homesteaded on the property. You got to remember, these all came as a result of the land grants. So he had a land grant from the King of Spain, no less. And then he could subdivide that land grant however he wanted. And one of the families he subdivided to was the Sierras, and they were cousins of ours. So I'd see some of the Sierra family at some of what we call the primo parties, where all the cousins would get together. So I followed this road up and over here, and this is where the grain mill, that water-driven grain mill was. And then I walked back to meet up with Shelley. We had given ourselves, so we went early. It opened at 10, and we got there right afterwards, and you could see that the parking lot had already filled up. When we were driving out, there were literally frazzled security people trying to get people not to park on the side of the road, because it was just, and this was just afternoon. So it was just packed and crowded, and it showed that. So that's Las Golondrinas. If you ever get a chance, I strongly recommend, if you have any interest in Spanish history in the Southwest, it's the best place to visit to get a sense of what it was like to live in the 16th, but mostly 17th century.
So we might go
17th
back
and 18th century.
if they have another event there that we are interested in.
The next
attending.
one, I think, is the Harvest Festival.
They have a harvest festival. They have a wine festival.
Well,
They have a lot of festivals.
We're going to look at that in just a minute. I'm going to show you some of the others. So this is how it changes for the Renaissance Fair. So you can see there's here's the gate, right here is the museum shop, and this tent here was where the king was, right in there. And then all the artist shops were in there. This was a more artists and food area. There is a restaurant here where you can order food, but by noon, every table at every food stand was full. Like, even if you sat down, you wouldn't have gotten to eat. Then this is the historic plaza. See, they call it the Baca Plaza. This is the Manuel Baca y Delgado house. And over here is the Ojalatero, where the tin work is. But these were all filled as you went down this. You went down to the ferry village, and then the jousting was over here in this area. And it had a big crowd around it. I mean, it was almost impossible to shoot. I did get a shot kind of as they were, rounding people up to get ready. And then on this side was the Buccaneer area where all the pirates were.
Pirates and mermaids.
Pirates and mermaids, right. So it was very well organized. And I feel like maybe next year we'll go back on a Sunday and hope the crowds, like the best time to go. So it goes from 10 to 5. And my guess is you either want to go the first 2 hours of the day or the last 2 hours of the day. So I'm thinking like the last.
May not be any parking though.
Well, no, the 2 hour, by that time people are clearing out.
Yeah, but they weren't letting, even though we were leaving the parking lot, they weren't letting more people into the parking lot.
Well, that was kind of their bad. They could have figured out I think what they missed was how do we allow and count? Like there's another exit over there, and they should have had the guy there directing traffic to the exit with one of those little counters that said, okay, 20 cars have come out. You can now, let them back in. Because when we were getting out, although there were open parking spaces, in addition to ours, because we saw them, they weren't letting other people in the parking lot. So people just started parking on the side of the road, and it's a narrow 2-lane road, 2 directions. And so you had to consider what was happening when you were driving out, because there would be traffic coming in the other way, and you had to share the one lane that was left from the 2 roads. In addition to that, people were walking on the road, and so you had to slow down to give them a chance to duck in between cars so you didn't run them over. So it got pretty crowded pretty quick, and it was, I think, our choice to go. I think it was a wise choice to go early, get all our footage, enjoy as much as we could. Like, for example, we didn't eat. We waited till we came home to stop and get something to eat. But they have like turkey legs. They have a bunch of Renaissance style food that you can order at both the King's Tavern, which is right here, and over here at the food area. So, but we didn't get to try that because by that time, the places that served food and alcohol, and because they do serve beer, you can buy
Mead? I don't know.
mead. Yeah. Were just packed. I mean, it packed up real quickly. So,
Yeah.
but if you get a chance and you haven't been to one, I strongly recommend going to it. Just kind of plan the day, and it's even more fun when you've taken the time to, pick a costume. Shelley had a costume in the day, and she reminds me, for as many photos as I take of Shelley, for some reason or the other, that day I didn't take. You saw the
You didn't
top
take
part of
any
the costume.
pictures.
Yeah, I didn't
Just
shoot
video.
it. I just shot video.
That's
that day.
okay. We're all learning.
Yeah.
Right. We're relearning how to do shooting in the field. We got so comfortable just shooting in the studio and around the house
And not having to think about it.
and not
Yeah.
not going anywhere
Right.
with the pandemic and with we've just not been doing it so much because it takes a lot of editing when you go shoot in the field. So
Well, it not only takes a lot of pre-production effort,
Yeah.
because you have to plan it out, decide what equipment you're taking with
charge
you,
everything up,
get
and
everything charged.
pack it all up.
And then on the production day, you can't stay together, because if you stay together, there's only 2 of us. We don't have a full production team. So we each take a camera. We do the intros and we try to get interviews in, because those are always helpful, because you don't have to do the talking about it. And then when we can, sometimes you can't get the interviews. And then Shelley and I split up. And in this case, we decided that Shelley was going to shoot the B-roll associated with the Renaissance Fair, and I was going to shoot the B-roll associated with the Las
Which meant
Golondrinas.
you had to walk really far.
Yeah, I had to go literally to the other side, to as far as you could go before getting to the Sierra homestead,
Yeah.
because it was literally all across Golondrinas. So, but it was worth it, because I got the footage that I wanted. We were able to tell the story that we wanted, and then you've got to put that all together. And then you have to take all that footage, and there's I'm going to guess 120 different clips that we collect during that period, divided into driving, flying, walking, scenery.
We didn't do any flying.
No, we didn't. They wouldn't let us. They don't allow
Not
drones
this
in the
time.
area. But then you have to divide those all into folders, and then you have to take all of that footage, which literally is hours worth of footage, and figure out how to bring it down to around 12 to 15 minutes. and tell the story at the same time. And the hardest part is always scripting it. So what we decided, as you may have noticed today, is rather than doing what we normally do, I'm going to go back. I'm going to release this here for just get here.
Where's your click?
What we decided to do today, and you may have noticed, is we made the video and then we decided we were just going to do a natural voiceover while we were watching the video. And so what I'll do now is once we've finished our stream, I can download both the video and the audio, and I'll take that audio and I'll crop it to the beginning of the video and the end of the video so that it has our voices on it. And then I'll add that to the video that you saw, because there is no voice other than the natural sounds and some musical under
Except
music.
for when we were talking.
Right. Towards the end, it doesn't have a voiceover on it. It's what's going to be the voiceover is what we did today. And we found that amazingly easy because Shelley and I are both very good at extemporaneous
Got to
speaking.
save time where you can.
Yeah. And now all I have to do is take that audio of our voices describing it to you guys today, add it to the already existing edited version, and then re-render it. And now it has a voiceover, and I can upload that to YouTube. And we didn't do any scripting. So there is nothing about creating your own videos like this that isn't time consuming in comparison to live streaming. Live streaming is you get on, you talk about all kinds of stuff, and then you get off and it's over. And YouTube has it if you want to put it other places. Podcast, it might take some extra time. When you decide to start making videos again, you have to accept that you've got equipment, you've got batteries, you've got to select times, you have to hope that the weather cooperates. You have to make sure all that the equipment is doing what it's supposed to, because I don't know, 3 times out of 10, what the equipment was doing at home isn't what it's doing out in the field. I mean, literally. And so, and you only get one chance, right? You get one chance to do the Renaissance Fair once a year. And so if you get there and you realize, I didn't bring my batteries, or I didn't, you know what? I have a box in my truck, in the center console of my truck, and it has spare SD cards. And the reason is I can't tell you the number of times we went out into the field and I realized I had left the SD cards at home. So now I just put 3 of them in the truck. So
And hope they don't melt.
I know they did. I don't think they'll melt. So anyway, it's very different from just live streaming. It requires a great deal of extra effort, and you got to love what you're doing, because if you don't love what you're doing, you're going to get bored with it really, really fast. And that's the other thing too, is I had, the last, I don't know, 3 years, I stopped editing. And if you're not doing it all the time, you kind of forget, well, how do I do this? And when do I add this? And what this? I'm getting back into it now. This one was, the first one that we did was Elephant Butte. And this one was, I don't know, 5 times easier because from a production perspective, I knew what we had to shoot, how we would shoot it, what components we needed. I was going to miss the drone because Las Golondrinas didn't allow them, but that's okay. I mean, we don't need
That's
the drone
going to
shot.
happen
Yeah.
more and more. And
Yeah.
If you're in national parks,
Right.
or
And now we've got
near
2 other
airports
tools.
or anything like that.
We have 2 other tools that we can use. Number one, we have the ROV, which gives us some underwater shots. I don't know how that's going to pay off. I have no idea, but I made the investment, so I got to figure out how to incorporate it. And within a month or so, we'll have a boat that can travel with us, and then we can launch literally anywhere. We don't even need a boat launch on a lake to do it. We can launch it from any place. And so that's going to add to the kind of footage that we can get. So when you think about the boat, the drone, the ROV, we got a bunch of other footage that we're going to have to work in to tell the story. And we're going to have to take the time to get the footage, because each one of them requires, you do something a little bit different in order to get the associated footage. So we're very excited about it. And I think it's kind of fun to be my age, because I didn't expect. So I'm doing a lot of things now as of these kinds of videos that I did in my career, right? Production, pre-production, production, post-production, deliver the product to the customer. And I haven't done a lot of that I mean, I had done some of it when I first moved to New Mexico, but for the past several years, we've just been live streaming. And live streaming is you get on, sometimes you have a presentation, sometimes you just talk a lot. And Lord knows that I have the ability to talk a lot. And then you let it upload and YouTube's happy. This one is different. And so I think it's in our best interest to keep ourselves active like this. And the question is, how long do we do this? I mean, I'm 73. Sooner or later, I'm going to be 80. And you got to ask yourself, I'm going to be out there in the field shooting B-roll, doing interviews.
Why not?
Why not? What else have I got to do with
That's
my
right.
life? What else?
Only then it'll be South Carolina day trips or Florida day trips, or
I think those are going to
wherever.
be fun. There's a real chance that Shelley and I, not together but independently of one another, are going to end up on the East Coast. And can you imagine having that ROV and going down to the Florida Keys on the boat with the drone? What the heck? I'm moving next year.
We'll see.
No, we can't. The interest rates suck right now. So, Da-da-da-da-da. So Jeep Grills, Jody says it reminds me of Bent's Fort. I don't know what that is. It must be someplace in. I'll bet you it's in Colorado though. Huh.
Possibly.
Let me see. Have I got anything else to share with you? Okay. No, I don't. All
That's
right.
okay. Our time is up.
Oh, our time is up.
So we will be back tomorrow, and my first show will be in the morning with Jen McFarland at 11 o'clock Mountain, and that will be Women Conquer Business, and we're going to be talking about batching your content. So if you are a content creator and you want to know more about how to get things done quickly in advance, make sure you tune in for batching content. Batching Bonanza, I think it's called. And then at 1 o'clock, we will be interviewing a young woman whose name is Heather Zeitzwolf. She's a profit advisor, and she will be sharing her recommendations for content creators to turn into content entrepreneurs, how to make a profit at what you are doing if you are a content creator. And that's at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So we look forward to that conversation with Heather.
And then, so we're not sure what day we're going to Santa Rosa yet.
We're not sure. Possibly Friday, depends. Kevin is in the hospital right now and he might need a ride home. So might be able to have Jared do it, or he might need me to do
we
it.
wouldn't,
So
yeah,
we'll see.
we wouldn't go if he was getting out of the hospital there. We got Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Okay. So
Actually, what I'm thinking about doing is going
we
on
may
a
do that
scouting trip on Monday and then do the recorded trip on Tuesday.
then. All right. Well,
We'll see. We'll have something
we're
for you
gonna
next
make it
week
happen.
nonetheless. And it, with any luck, it will incorporate footage from not only the air drone, but the water drone. It's going to be cool. I'm going to turn off the ticker here.
all right. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be putting up occasional videos every now and then. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you subscribe and click on the bell so you get notified when we add new content to the channel.
And by the way, I will be taking the video that you saw today, adding our voiceover from our conversation tonight, and then putting that up on YouTube independently of this show. So if you just want to point someone to that video without having the show in between, please feel free to do so. All right. Last words.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. And we'll
And don't
see you
forget-
soon.
Don't forget, we love you.